is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
So Curtis and Nancy Sliwa are your upcoming hosts here on the Rip and Read. Curtis, you know, Sid made fun of you. Others are kind of questioning you in the newsroom, but Director Cheatle, she had no answers yesterday on Capitol Hill concerning this assassination attempt against former President Trump. Now she's resigned, and reports say the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania, Curtis, was identified as an issue 18 minutes before Trump took the stage. Also, where is President Biden, although we're supposed to see him tomorrow at 8 p.m.?
All right, hold on a second. Let's deal with Biden first. Nancy, who joins us today on the Rip and Read, as she does every Tuesday and Thursday, coming off, appearing with me all weekend long on the other side of midnight. James Flippin, we had the highest ratings ever at WABC for overnight radio, because we covered both the topic of the assassination attempt and what Nancy will be doing up next, the deep dive into the cyber attack that Eric Adams said on Friday morning was not a cyber attack, right? And here it is. We're still left with flights being canceled and businesses being affected. But let's deal with what I'm going to call 5 days, you say, the president has been missing. Are we going to see Max Headroom tomorrow night addressing the nation?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you heard that call that President Biden made into Kamala's event yesterday, but there was a very weird moment where Kamala said, "Oh, thank you, Joe. I know you're still on the call," and a lot of people noticed that. So,
well, not only that, in a modern day and age of conference calls, Zoom calls, why was it just an old-fashioned phone call? I mean, you could have had him up waving, you know, hey, I'm doing a lot better.
I mean, when former President Trump was dealing with COVID and recovering at Walter Reed Medical Center, they took photos of him while he was working in the conference center and stuff like that. You'd think you could at least get some photo evidence of President
Nancy, do you have any suspicions about this fake phone call? It could have been AI generated. Nowadays, it's almost comparable to the person. And remember, he was hoarse, so it makes it even easier to do.
Well, I mean, it's certainly disturbing given that he is going to be riding out the rest of his term, so he doesn't have enough energy to run for office, but apparently this no-show appearance is good enough to run the country for a couple months.
Yeah, so I want to know if this is going to be just a Max Headroom appearance that we're going to see tomorrow night. But let's get to the more serious matter. While you were furiously working away at your computer terminals, many of which are still down from the cyber attack on Friday, I noticed you popped your head up and you told the newsroom that Cheatle has resigned. Boy, that was a quick turnaround, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder why she didn't do it before the hearing yesterday, since she knew there wasn't going to be a lot she could say.
She didn't say anything at the hearing. Did you see those two goons behind her? I want you to go back so that by tomorrow you look. Nancy, did you see those two goons behind her while she was giving her no answers?
You the ones mad-dogging her?
Mad-dogging her.
Yes, those ones.
You know, you look at them and you say, who are these guys?
Now, you're, in essence, Nancy, you're saying these guys were kind of making sure she was saying the right thing.
Yeah, I think, correct, exactly. And I think to her answers, which were super evasive, they were making sure she didn't say anything.
You remember that scene with Michael Corleone in that courtroom scene when all of a sudden someone appeared from Sicily, a brother of the witness against him? We're going to go into that tomorrow. I'm doing a little tease here.
I thought you were going to talk about when they put the gun in the bathroom so that they could take care of the assassination attempt later.
Look, you're not Italian. You're a freaking wasp from Bloomfield, and you're a hillbilly to boot. That's why you love J.D. Vance.
That's why I love J.D. Vance.
Please don't get into Godfather analogies.
Yeah.
I predict that Cheatle, by the way, there's absolutely nothing about her personal background other than she went to Eastern Illinois University and grew up in Hinsdale, very affluent area outside of Chicago. Nothing about her personal life other than she was part of the Secret Service team that protected Vice President Joe Biden. That's probably the way he became friendly with her and then decided when he's in charge, I'm going to make her the DEI secret security director. There's nothing about her personal life. We don't know a damn thing about this woman.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess just to play devil's advocate, we never really know who the director of the Secret Service is. I've never thought of that as like a public-facing position before.
No director of Secret Service.
We never really know who we're dating. I mean, we don't know anybody, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Very good point. Boy, that was a showstopper right there.
Just going to let that hang there.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. There's no comeback for that.
No, there's not.
That stopped us right in our tracks. I predict, okay, because so far I've been right on everything here. Mm-hmm. Meantime, O'Reilly says, and I'm on LSD, you know, a guy who's made millions of dollars writing books about conspiracies.
Right.
No conspiracy here, just malfeasance, incompetency. I mean, these people have been protecting Trump for years, right? But now all of a sudden everything falls apart. Ironically.
And I just don't know how you could possibly know for sure either way. How could you say right now, it's, 10 days later, how could you say, oh, it's definitely this or it's definitely that?
O'Reilly and Sid want to slam it shut.
I don't get that.
No. Meantime, O'Reilly making millions, right? Millions on books that deal with conspiratorial theories that existed all throughout American history. Let me make mention of the most recent communications that have come down the pipe that indicate that I'm right and all of them are wrong. An FBI investigation, as you just mentioned, James Flippin, to your credit, had found that a local SWAT team spotted crooks on the roof of the warehouse 18 minutes before Trump took to the stage. On the roof of the building where he capped shots at Donald Trump. 18 minutes before. They didn't go up and say, hey, you, come down here. We got a few questions for you. Hey. They didn't ask anybody else. Hey, go over there and get that guy. 18 minutes. Then the Secret Service had been informed of a potential suspicious person through radio communication. They all had radios. But it didn't stop. They did not stop Trump from taking the stage. Nancy has found the explanation of that, which we will play. That's why you don't want to be going anywhere. You just keep it right here on the Rip and Read, because Nancy did the deep dive. The director, in one of her few actual statements other than it's still under review 9 days later. It's still under review.
And thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. Who the hell ever asked for that?
Thank you
so much. Doesn't that tell you something right there? Every time there was someone who questioned her, whether it was Nancy Mace, whether it was Raskin, the Republican, thank you for asking me that question. Who ever said that before?
A masochist?
Exactly. And I predict now that she has resigned, that in about a week's time, there will be a home visit. You know, what do they call those? A wellness visit.
Check, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they will find her hanging upside down in a closet, in which she will no longer be able to answer any questions whatsoever, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
room temperature.
I don't think anybody would be surprised by that one.
Oh, no, but naturally, the Beavis and Butthead on this situation, O'Reilly and Sid will say, oh, you're so conspiratorial. After that performance yesterday?
Well, I hold on. I think if nothing else, if I could just stand up for both you and my other colleagues, I think you tend to be the one who pushes the envelope, and they're maybe just waiting to see if you need to push it over that line. They want to take it up to that line and then kind of figure out what the answer is. No, I'm sorry,
James. You have to choose sides here. You can't do that.
So, I mean, so your guys are basically saying at this point, definitively, you're more or less convinced.
Excuse me. When Nancy proved to me that we were hit with a cyber attack, and we're going to go into that Friday morning, and the stupid mayor comes out who knows nothing about that. Oh, it was not a cyber attack. And we are how many days after with all these canceled airline flights and no answers yet?
So you think they're potentially linked, the two events?
No, completely unlinked. But yes, linked through a place called Iran. Stay tuned. You don't want to go anywhere. By the time you finish listening to the Rip and Read, you will have everything on the entree menu put before you.
So you're saying all shall be revealed?
No, it's up to you to choose whether you want hors d'oeuvres or entrees, but Nancy and I will serve it all up. and we will totally counteract the Beavis and Butthead, O'Reilly and Sid. Oh, no, it's just total incompetence. I don't ever want to believe that law enforcement or public safety would ever set up the President of the United States for a headshot. Get the hell out of here.
Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa. Rip and read. Check this out. This is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa. This is the Rip and Read.
Well, those of you who are baby boomers, you remember the weekly Hogan's Heroes program. That's a Hogan's Heroes themes, Allied war prisoners in Stalag 13. And the memorable lines of Sergeant Schultz. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I say nothing. Sergeant Schultz, the perfect character to represent now the resigned in disgrace Kimberly Cheatle, a former director of the Secret Service. Although, boy, when you saw her yesterday in prime time, almost ignore and deny everything. It reminded me of a female version of Sergeant Schultz.
What is he doing in the uniform, General Hogan, please? Oh, you went too far. I must report this. It would be worth my life if I do not report this.
It's only until tomorrow, and he's going to take it off again. After he steals the tank.
Oh?
From the Panzer Division.
Oh?
He brings it here into the barracks.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
We used to watch that every week and laugh. But oh boy, we saw the female version of Sergeant Schultz yesterday in full view. And it was both Republicans and Democrats who took her to task on the Hill. First, Republican Nancy Mace of South Carolina made a chilling observation with Sid about her unorthodox body language when answering questions.
I'm not going to delve into conspiracy theories. That's not my thing. But I will tell you, it was her body language and her overly defiant responses were very odd to me. Who was guaranteeing she doesn't get fired? It seemed so crazy to me that she shows up to our committee as defiant as she was, not willing to answer any of our questions.
Not willing to answer any of the questions, and the annoying initial response to every question. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, she said that repeatedly, and then she also kept utilizing this thing. Well, we're only 9 days out, so I don't really want to speak because I don't really know everything. Kind of answer.
9 days after the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. And she still doesn't know anything. Yeah,
I mean, she didn't want to commit to anything. I mean, apparently she heard some things or was looking into things, but nothing did she want to confirm.
Now, generally, in these kind of situations, because it's so partisan, because this is a Democratic appointee, the Democrats will protect the president's appointee. We'll get to that momentarily because they didn't. But let's listen to the RNC co-chairwoman, Lara Trump, the daughter-in-law of Donald Trump, on with Sid this morning and get her response to what she saw of that congressional hearing and questioning of Kimberly Cheatle.
No one has any answers. And unfortunately, Sid, it just plays into the hands of conspiracy theories. It makes you wonder, well, what is going on? How on earth was this allowed to happen? How is it that we don't have any answers?
Notice both Nancy Mace and Lara Trump say it plays into conspiracy theories. Did Sid absorb that? Did he chastise them and say, no, it's just the facts, Sergeant Joe Friday, just the facts. Him and the Beavis and Butthead of this story, O'Reilly, who thinks I'm on LSD.
No, I think he showed a little restraint with the ladies.
Of course he did, because he is hearing it now more and more.
Yeah.
Every other day, something is said that would suggest that there was an organized attempt to make sure that Donald Trump never made it to the RNC conference in Milwaukee that would make him the official nominee of the Republican Party. Can you imagine if he was killed or if he was in the ICU, incapable of responding? It would have thrown that convention into chaos. We'll deal with who had motivation to do that. But let's go to normally what is the Democratic side of a congressional hearing that is generally always going to protect the Democratic appointee, as the Republicans do when it's a Republican appointee who is under attack. But in this case, no. It's not that at all. We'll get to that momentarily, Jamie Raskin. But let's go to James Comer first, who is the chairperson, Republican from Kentucky, who very quietly tries to elicit from the director of the security operation for President Trump exactly what transpired that day.
Why wasn't a Secret Service agent on the roof? And there have been reports that agents were supposed to be on the roof, but it was hot that day and they didn't want to be on the roof. Can you answer any of those questions, Director?
So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. I should have been more clear in my answer when I spoke about where we placed personnel in that interview. What I can tell you is that there was a plan in place to provide overwatch, and we are still looking into responsibilities and who was going to provide overwatch. But the Secret Service in general, not speaking specifically to this incident, when we are providing overwatch, whether that be through counter snipers or other technology, prefer to have sterile rooftops.
Wait, I thought it was a sloped rooftop that was the issue.
But they prefer sterile rooftops?
I don't even know what that means.
Sterile.
Like clean?
Clean,
Devoid of people, of snipers? Like, what are you talking about?
I would say, incapable of having children, right? You're sterile. Well, what the hell is that?
So no one wiped down the roof, so they weren't willing to get on top of it. Gotcha.
You would have thought that would have said, what, Director, what do you mean a sterile rooftop?
I wish they would have gone further into that question, because at this point I thought it was because the roof was slanted, but now we have a new word coming into the mix.
A sterile rooftop.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a lot of, retraining on rooftops, apparently.
Never heard that term before. Now, the Democrat, Jamie Raskin, did not offer her protection.
How can a 20-year-old with his father's AR-15 assault weapon climb onto a roof with a direct 150-yard line of sight to the speaker's podium without the Secret Service or local police stopping him?
So again, sir, I will say we are 9 days out from this event, and I would like to know those answers as well, which is why we are going through these investigations to be able to determine that fully.
Wait, if she doesn't know him, who does?
And then finally, Raskin again asks a question that is on every American's mind.
So you distinguish between someone who is suspicious and someone who's threatening, is that right?
I do. There are a number of times at protective events where suspicious people are identified, and those individuals have to be investigated and determined what is it that identifies that person as suspicious.
And how long was this investigation process supposed to go on?
Well, if he was a suspicious character, they had him in their gun sights 18 minutes before.
Okay, well, they were taking pictures, so at least they could research him later on.
Such bull feathers. This director will probably go to her grave carrying all these secrets sooner rather than later.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Curtis doesn't know about you, but he rips and reads.
This is the Rip and Read.
She blinded me with science.
Oh, yeah. We had back-to-back programs. Saturday morning from 12 midnight to 6, followed by Sunday morning, 12 midnight to 6. Highest ratings ever achieved in overnight radio here at WABC because we conflated both the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, which looks more and more conspiratorial as the day goes on, no matter what the Beavis and Butthead of WABC think about that, O'Reilly and Sid, who don't want to give in on that. But what differentiated us from any other program is we gave equal time to what Nancy announced on Friday morning was a cyber attack. Now, I am a Luddite. I know nothing about these matters. I did not do what Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan at City Hall, did Friday morning, as if he was the technological expert throughout the United States. He gets on in the media capital of the world, New York City, and announces within hours that it is not a cyber attack.
It was not a cyber attack. I recall when I was briefed by the former mayor, he says one of the major concerns is dealing with any form of IT outage, including if it is a cyber attack. We need to be prepared.
So the pothead mayor previously, Bill de Blasio, the part-time mayor, the dope from Park Slope, and his crooked wife, Charlene, were telling Eric Adams about cyber attacks. Mm-hmm. These guys were in a purple haze all the time. Eric Adams jumped the queue and insisted it wasn't a cyber attack. Nancy, you not only insisted it was a cyber attack, you explained at great length what you had experienced years before when you were doing an investigation into business matters and scenarios that caused you to suffer. What do they call that again?
So that's the blue screen of death. So, yeah, when I was doing different types of research on the computer, and unfortunately what happens is as soon as you turn the computer on, that screen pops up, and at that point, there's nothing really to do. You've lost everything you have unless you've backed things up, and the idea of trying to rectify the situation usually just ends up in you having to get a new computer.
So almost hours after President Donald Trump had completed his acceptance speech, way too long, 90 minutes, but all of a sudden airlines were failing to be able to respond to the needs of their customers, banking institutions, financial institutions, almost everything in Western civilization that was dependent on computer components and software was like escalating down. And I'm telling everybody in the newsroom, look, Nancy's the expert. She says it's a cyber attack. And who ignored me? The other one who doesn't believe in any of this, Noam Laden himself.
The MTA, which normally reports on its app and on its website about delays on the subways and buses, we can't access that because of the IT outage. So we know the buses and trains are running. We just don't know whether they're late or not.
How did he know the buses and trains were running? He never explained that. I challenged him because, remember, I come on with Sid every morning at 7:15. I challenged him extensively. I said, and you've given a clean bill of health to New Jersey Transit, which has had problems on every normal day. And he said, but New Jersey Transit was not affected by what he was calling a tech glitch.
We've been telling you all morning that New Jersey Transit is on time, but now we're getting word that the app information or the information given to us is not correct. They are having issues on New Jersey Transit.
So at that point, they finally started to believe, and Sid said towards the end of his program that he actually believed it was a cyber attack. Yeah. Remember, Eric Adams, swagger man with no plan, is the first to announce it's not a cyber attack. You didn't hear anything from Washington. You didn't hear anything. But this guy who considers himself a know-it-all, knows nothing about nothing. You know this field, this subject. Explain what transpired and why it is 5 days later, flights are still being canceled. business computers are still being negatively affected, and we're not getting any answers from, what's the name of this company in Austin, Texas, that claimed to put a patch on everything on Friday and fixed it?
Yeah, that's CrowdStrike.
Boy, CrowdStrike has a infamous history. We'll get into that momentarily, but explain to our audience why it is you were so sure it was a cyber attack and what the ramifications would be over the course of the next few days. You've been right. Eric Adams was wrong, and I noticed that Noam Laden doesn't even want to comment any longer on how he gave New Jersey Transit a clean bill of health.
Yeah, he'll regret that, I guess. So supposedly this was just a faulty software update, but the issue is, so they're actually sending out these updates to all of their clients. Roughly 8.5 million Microsoft devices were affected. This included about 70% of the Fortune 500 companies, and then a lot of United States security agencies, including the cybersecurity agency, all top companies. So, but the issue that happened was the file that they sent out, which is, the entire purpose of this is to prevent from external attacks, right? So if anything brand new comes up, they're always trying to develop new ways to protect from new threats from the outside. But what this was that the information they sent out, which they claimed was faulty, somehow was actually contained the incorrect information, the random data, which nobody knows how it got in there, supposedly. So they are the ones who sent out the offending update. And again, they still don't know how it got in there, who put it in there, or why it wasn't checked, why it wasn't vetted, why they didn't, run it through first. But so all indications are it directly came from their company, which, by definition, really is a cyber attack.
And the name of the company, again, its international headquarters in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, that's CrowdStrike.
All right, so CrowdStrike now is saying they don't know necessarily when everything will be back up and running in a way in which when all your enemies are banging on your door of your fort, whatever your business is, and they're trying to find ways to get in, where they can guarantee that your computer operation, your software, will remain safe and secure.
Yeah, and what they're suggesting to everyone is each machine that was affected, you actually have to reboot it and then delete the bad files. The only problem is the bad files that you got probably already attacked the inside of your computer. So what they're doing is they're focusing obviously on a lot of the high clientele, which is really the government offices, so many of them. But, everyone else who uses it, I guess the low priority are the things like the airlines, because they're unable to this day still correctly, according to them, to get the tickets done correctly and also the scheduling. But I think it has maybe a little more to do with the actual flight patterns itself, as opposed. I think they're trying to, calm it down a little bit more by just saying, oh, we can't get the reservations, as opposed to we can't actually see each other in the air, which is, more terrifying.
Now notice the transportation secretary is the boy from South Bend who had almost become the Democratic nominee in 2020, at least in the early stages, to run for the presidency. Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg. He's been invisible on this. He's been like missing in action on this.
Yeah, there's a lot of transportation things that he's been a no-show for.
Now the question is, no-show? Or he just doesn't know and he always prided himself on being an intellect. Remember, we were told Pete Buttigieg, mayor of South Bend, could speak 9 languages, including Norwegian. He's a well-read young man. He would be an intellectual president, somebody we'd be proud of. I will bet you the reason we haven't seen Buttigieg is he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He does not want to get on that stage and look like a schmendrick, like somebody who, well, as we saw the former director of the Secret Service yesterday, who wouldn't say anything, but probably didn't know anything because she was kept in the dark.
Yeah, the basic elements of what's going offline, it affects obviously the government, the different services that people are getting. But think how many things are connected to the online system. This could be much more devastating if this attack is a little more targeted going forward.
Now, we have been told in the past, in these ongoing battles that have involved Russia, Ukraine, the United States, Secret Services, our national security agency, that this very company, what's the name of that again in Austin?
CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike. had a server in the Ukraine that everybody was pointing at. It's like, why is there a server in the Ukraine and not in the United States, in Austin, Texas, their international headquarters? We understand they have offices throughout the world because they provide, 70% of the protection?
Well, yes. So 70% of the Fortune 500 companies, and then beyond that, and the smaller businesses, they have a lot of governmental oversight. So, I mean, from the Department of Defense, the Cybersecurity, Social Security Administration, all those types of agencies.
Once again, I want you to describe to our audience, since you're one of the few victims who has emerged, of exactly what this attack looks like when you're sitting in front of your computer. Because, again, the work you do as an attorney requires you to work on files to be able to let a corporation know you're vulnerable here, you're not vulnerable. Yeah, go to trial. You can win this case or settle now, because I've just given you the tip of the iceberg of how many different ways these attorneys are going to eviscerate you in court. What exactly happened on that date that reminded you on Friday morning of what was probably happening to systems around the Western civilized world?
Well, I mean, again, the point of the machine itself not working, the operating system not working whatsoever. So you can't get any functionality out of it. So when you turn on the system, it's a blue screen of death is what they call it. And it's letting you know that you have something amiss. And at that point, you can't really do much with the computer at all. You have to, I mean, you can't even really reboot it. You can't do anything like that. You're trying to now salvage whatever type of memory component you had in there. Because again, the idea of what happened here is the malware got through. So now it infected your entire system. So it's going to basically destroy your files or make them unreadable. So there's nothing left to get, even when you get the computer back on.
And they claim that it is a continuation. It's like it's on a cycle. So you have to basically go computer by computer by computer.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea is for these very, sort of top level security type systems that they have that are protecting the government information. The problem is it's already been compromised. So now you're working in the dark, not knowing what has been taken, what has been compromised, what information is out there. So that's the next step of it, figuring out exactly what has been compromised. But we already know it's high government level information.
Who would have the motivation to do this? I say all fingers need to be pointed at the Ayatollahs in Tehran in Iran. I'm going to make the case up next for why Iran is at fault for the cyber attack. Iran is at fault for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, because we know they had issued a fatwa against Donald Trump weeks before, and why Iran is now 2 or 3 weeks away from having its first atomic bomb, as stated by our own Secretary of State Blinken over the weekend. It was like lost in all the news. It's sort of like, what? This is probably the most important news at all. Don't go anywhere, because I'm going to make the case against Iran as being behind all 3 of these actions.
This is the Rip and Read, featuring Curtis Sliwa. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Bam, 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 Iran. 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 What country's got a feeling really hit the ceiling? Bam, Iran. Bam, 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 Iran. Went to a mosque, gonna throw some rocks. Tell the Ayatollah, gonna put you in a box. Bam, Iran. Bam, 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 bam.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all roads lead to Tehran and the Ayatollah. Lost over the weekend, but not to the other side of midnight. We had the highest ratings ever in the history of WABC, because Nancy joined me and she did the cyber attack while I focused on the attempted assassination. Anthony Blinken, our Secretary of State, said declaratively Iran will have a nuclear weapon in 2 to 3 weeks. How the hell that wasn't being reported on over and over and over. I realized the news cycle was packed. But they have said when they have their nuclear weapon, they're going to develop 2, drop 1 on Israel. They know that Israel will then turn them into a glass highway, and they just want 1 shot at the U.S. with the other one. This is what the Ayatollah has said all the time. They say it right after their day of prayer when they leave the mosque in Tehran on Fridays. Death to the little Satan Israel, death to the big Satan America. And we choose to discard what they say. Hey, I listen to what they say. I know they mean what they want to say. Anthony Blinken over the weekend, remember, he grew up in nearby Yonkers, was an Obamanite for years, was playing footsie with Iran. But even he has come to the conclusion that they're going to have the bomb in 2 to 3 weeks.
How are you going to stop them?
Well, by far, the preferable way to do it would be through diplomacy. Where we are now is not in a good place. Iran, because the nuclear agreement was thrown out, instead of being at least a year away from having the breakout capacity of producing fissile material for a nuclear weapon, is now probably 1 or 2 weeks away from doing that.
1 or 2 weeks away from doing that. First time he's ever gone on record as saying it. Virtually not reported over the weekend. We were the only ones, Nancy. We played that cut over and over. And then nobody picked up on it. It's as if, what, do you think the guy is just talking nonsense? He's telling you they're going to have a bomb in 1 to 2 weeks, an atomic weapon. Then Nancy brings to my attention that as Bibi Netanyahu lands in Washington, D.C. yesterday, there's nobody of importance from our government meeting him there. Nope. We understand why Biden couldn't be there. You know, he's under wraps.
Wherever he may be.
But again, Kamala Harris, too busy to be welcoming in the leader of Israel. And no Secretary of State who would normally be there as the substitute.
Oh, and FYI, so Biden did let everybody know that he will be making an appearance tomorrow at 8 p.m., so he'll address people from the Oval Office, so he'll have to show his face tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll believe that when I see that. So we have that. And Bibi has always warned us. He went before the United Nations General Assembly years ago and pointed out how close Iran was to having the bomb. And we know that obviously he's aware of what Blinken is saying. And I expect there will be a possible attack on Iran to stop them because Israelis, with the help of Americans, have always been sending what they call cyber worms into the computers of the Iranian scientists who are developing their nuclear weapons, and it's caused them all kinds of problems. Now, in retaliation, why wouldn't the Ayatollahs try to launch a cyber strike against the evil Satan America in advance? And then after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Butler County, we were told, oh, yeah, that's right. The Ayatollah Khomeini had issued a fatwa against Trump weeks ago when he won that debate in Atlanta, and the Iranians realized that Biden had no chance to get in to office again, so that if a Trump would have become president, he would once again put on tariffs. He would basically close the oil fields, their abilities to make money in the foreign market. He would be on the cusp of bankruptcy. So the time to get Trump is now. He issued a fatwa. Why nobody is taking all three of these seriously is beyond me. Iran would have had the motive to launch a cyber attack against America in advance to flex and warn the world, you better not try to take out our nuclear weapons, or it's all-out war against all of Western civilization. We have been warned. They do it every Friday after their day of prayer, Juma, when they say death to the evil Satan America, death to the little Satan Israel. And I believe they wanted Donald Trump dead in Butler that day.